Welcome back, drawing buddies. This week we are going to draw Green Lantern John Stewart from pencils to inks to colors. So let's hang out for 20 minutes and let's draw. So John Stewart's first appearance was in Green Lantern number 87 in 1971-72, December, January. He came about because Neil Adams wanted more inclusion in comic books. And he decided that they should have a backup Green Lantern that more represented the black community. And the times, 1971, we had the whole civil rights movement and all that kind of stuff going on. And Neil Adams felt that that black people should be better represented in comics. So he went with John Stewart. Apparently, most black people in comics back then were portrayed as lighter skinned. And he based John Stewart on Sidney Poitier. Great actor, by the way. If you want to watch a great later movie he was in, well, not later, 1993, I think. It's called Sneakers. And it's pretty relevant to what's going on today with computers and AI and information and flock cameras and all that fun stuff. It's a movie that was a bit ahead of its time. And it stars Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix, and a few other actors I don't remember the name of, but check it out. But that has nothing to do with Green Lantern, so we are not even going to worry about that. This video should have came out Friday, but I totally forgot the Lantern show is debuting. So that's on me, but we'll see if I'm not too late, and we'll see how John does, and if he does okay, we will do a Hal Jordan, my Green Lantern, and we will do a Guy Gardner, because he's ridiculously fun. So Hal Jordan was the first Green Lantern, well, Silver Age Green Lantern. Alan Scott was the Golden Age Green Lantern, but he's not actually a Green Lantern as in part of the Green Lantern Corps. So in the late 60s, they decided to introduce Guy Gardner as a backup to Hal Jordan. I don't think he made a lot of appearances, but basically the story was when Abin Sur was crashing on Earth and dying, and Hal Jordan was chosen to be the Green Lantern. His simulator was basically hijacked in a green bubble, carried out to the desert where Abin Sur's ship crashed, and he was given the ring and all that other fun stuff. Apparently, it also picked up on Guy Gardner. They were both considered equals as far as being worthy to wear the ring. But Hal Jordan was closer to Abin Sur's ship, so it picked Hal Jordan. So they decided to do Guy Gardner as a backup. And I never actually read that story. I've never owned the book. So I don't know exactly how it went down. But eventually, well, like I said earlier, Neil Adams wanted more inclusion in comics, so he created John Stewart. So what they did was they had Guy Gardner get injured, so he could no longer fulfill his duties as a backup, and John Stewart was chosen as Guy Gardner's replacement to back up Hal Jordan. So now you got 3 Green Lanterns on Earth, because the backups had rings. My original plan was to reread Green Lantern Mosaic for this, because that was my real introduction to John Stewart back in 1992, I think it was. So somehow, I don't remember how, a bunch of towns and cities from planets throughout the universe ended up on Oa, or OA. I never actually bothered to learn what the proper saying of that is. So, and John Stewart kind of became the sheriff of the town to keep all the aliens in line and teach them how to work together and respect each other and not kill each other and be afraid of each other. And so he was basically your sheriff of all these towns. He built roads and he tried to bring the communities together. And it was a good story. I don't remember it because I read it in 1992 and I went to read it on the DC Universe app and it was not on it. And I tried searches. I looked through every Green Lantern book. So if it's on there, it's hidden really well, and I don't know how to find it, and it kind of bummed me out. So now we're just going to wing this whole thing and talk about everything I know about Green Lanterns instead of concentrating just on John Stewart. So even though John Stewart's been around since the 70s, most people got introduced to John Stewart, I think, in the early 2000s in the Justice League Unlimited, where they decided, they needed more diversity because, everybody was white. So they decided to go with the Jon Stewart Green Lantern instead of Hal Jordan to be the Green Lantern of the Justice League cartoon. And it was a great characterization of him, and it was really good. And I don't remember any of that show either because I didn't watch a lot of it. I stopped watching the animated stuff after the last season of Batman animated series, and I watched some of the Superman one. And me and my son watched the hell out of the Batman Superman movie. I had the videotape, and he loved it, and we had to play it all the time. And that was some good stuff. But yeah, that's where most people got Jon Stewart from. And I also remember, he started out as an architect, and he was, college educated and smart, and that's why when he makes constructs, he knows how every piece works. So he makes some of the most solid and realistic constructs out of all the Green Lanterns, because he knows how things are put together. So when he envisions it in his mind to make the light construct, he knows exactly how everything works. So it's a little more potent than your average big fist like a Hal Jordan might make. He'll make a whole machine gun or a whole tank or a whole spaceship or whatever he could think of, and he knows how it works, so it works properly. So that's pretty darn cool. They kept some of that, but I guess Jeff Johns decided to trade his straight-up architect origin in for... they made him a military vet, and he had some trauma. In fact, I think somewhere along the lines, I don't remember what story was in exactly what happened. Hold on. Pencils are done. It's now time to ink Jon Stewart, Green Lantern. But something happened out in space, and he failed to save like a planet or something, and basically everybody on the planet died or something, and that really messed him up. And he was trying to atone for that. That's why Jon Stewart doesn't wear the white gloves the Green Lanterns wear, because it's kind of a purity thing, and he doesn't think he deserves it because of what happened there. And I remember I was reading a Justice League story, because one of my favorite artists is a guy named Duncan Raoul, so I pretty much buy any book he does. And he did a 2 or 3 issue Justice League arc. The inker was terrible, totally ruined his pencils, but we won't get into that. And I don't remember the numbers, and I wouldn't even know how to look it up. But, actually, just Duncan Raoul Justice League probably worked. But, basically the story revolves around Mouth and Psycho Pirate. They basically take over the minds of the Justice League and convince them of different things. Like, Mouth, basically what he says to you, you do, or you believe. That's a superpower. He's like a psychic. And like he tells Flash just to run. So Flash just runs and he never stops running. And then I forgot what he said to Jon Stewart, but it had something to do with triggering that trauma that happened on the planet. And he was trying to protect either a military base or some kind of... it was out in the middle of the desert. And Jon Stewart's trauma kicked in, and he just started floating in the middle of the city, and he put up a Green Lantern bubble around the compound that was so strong that even Superman couldn't get into it. It was pretty wild. He just stood there and he was mumbling something I don't remember the whole time. And just his will was so strong that nothing could get past the barrier he put up, and it was not what Moth and Psycho Pirate were expecting. So that was pretty cool. Flash ended up breaking the mind control first because he just ran so fast that it kind of broke the spell on him. And then he woke up the rest of the Justice League. And John was the hardest one to get through to because he was in that freaking bubble in the middle of the city and nobody could get in touch with him because Mouth was in his ear. So yeah, Mouth, he's a weird character. He's just a mouth. And he talks and, he says, do this, and then you do it. It's crazy. And I'll talk about Guy Gardner a little bit. The Guy Gardner I remember most was... back after the death of Superman, when pretty much Hal destroyed a lot of the Green Lantern's rings and all that stuff, and the Green Lantern Corps was a mess, and the only Green Lantern out there was Kyle Rayner, and he had Hal Jordan's ring, but we won't talk about Kyle right now. And so Guy Gardner's like, what the heck am I going to do? What is my place in the universe? So he went to the weaponers on Quard, the ones who made the original Yellow Lantern rings, and I don't think they were based on fair at the time. I think it was just yellow. I could be wrong. And he got Sinestro's ring, because Sinestro was dead at the time. Even though they did kind of resurrect him to fight Hal Jordan when he lost his mind after the whole, I think it was Coast City? Emeralds? Whatever city he lived in. But I'm getting off track here, which I do a lot, so I'm sorry about that. So Guy Gardner got himself a yellow ring, and he wore like a black leather jacket with a little Guy Gardner symbol on it, and jeans. And he had a standard Guy Gardner haircut, and he just went around doing his Same old shtick, but with the yellow ring. And then eventually he lost the yellow ring, and it turned out he had some DNA from some weird alien species, which made him warrior, so he could change his form and turn into weapons and stuff. And he appeared in a Superman or an Action Comics in that form, as kind of like a villain almost. And I remember getting that issue because it was by the same artist I was talking about earlier, did the Justice League, Duncan Raoul. And I ended up buying a page from that book on eBay, because back in the early 2000s, you could buy comic art really cheap on eBay, especially if you bought it from the inker. So I think I got the page for $30 or $40. I still have it. It's one of the few pieces that I still have. I got 2 Duncan Raoul pages. I got an Alpha Flight page too, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. So I was at a comic show a few months ago, and I bought a couple random issues of Action Comics because they were the Duncan Raoul issues, and I don't think I have them anymore for whatever reason. And I was looking through it, and I'm like, I recognize that page. And it was the page I bought with Superman and Guy Gardner as Warrior on it. I'm like, that's super cool. Now I know what book it is. So yeah, that was pretty fun. But my main Green Lantern growing up, of course, was Hal Jordan, because he was the main Green Lantern at the time. And I remember they did a weird thing. It was either in the late 80s or early 90s where they aged Hal up so he was older than all the other heroes. They put the gray in his temples like Mr. Fantastic and everything. And he was disillusioned with the Guardians and all that stuff, so he basically went walking around the country in jeans and a white t-shirt and a flight jacket, and he would go town to town walking. He didn't fly. He only used the ring in absolute emergencies when he had to. And he just solved normal street-level things going on in the towns. And I was watching the Green Lantern show, which the premiere was awesome, by the way. Even with that little stinger at the end that made me a little sad, even though I don't think it's what we think it is. But we won't get into that because it was last week, and I don't want to throw spoilers at you guys. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm guessing that one of the ideas for this Green Lantern show came from that run of Green Lantern back in the 80s or 90s when, he wandered the earth like Kane style and Kung Fu. And all right, hold on. The inks are done. It is now time to color John Stewart. I'm getting more efficient at drawing these videos as they're getting shorter and shorter. I mean, this one I slowed down a little bit, or it would have been another 15-minute video. So we'll see what happens. But it's also not a complex drawing. It's just John standing there with the ring going, yeah, I'm badass and I'm John Stewart. So yeah, I don't know if the writers took that into account when they were putting the show together. But that was definitely something that happened in Green Lantern history. So all you people who are salty about not being a big old space blockbuster, they actually had a time when Green Lantern just walked around solving problems in small towns. In fact, part of the whole 70s thing with the Green Lantern, Green Arrow thing was Green Arrow and Green Lantern going from town to town solving social injustice around the country. So, the people who are mad obviously don't know all their Green Lantern lore. They just didn't like those stories and they don't want to watch them. I did have a copy of Green Lantern 87 once. I went to a tag sale. I got there late, so I was kind of bummed. And there were just boxes and boxes of comic books. When I got there, somebody was already leaving with a whole box, and I asked him what was in it. He said, Batman. I'm like, of course. But it turns out that guy wasn't a comic book guy, so he didn't really he didn't take all the other comics that were there. He just took Batman because he knew, Batman, good. I'll take Batman. Because everybody knows Batman. So I went and looked, and there was runs of Green Lantern, Flash, Hawkman, even Detective Comics and stuff like that. And it looked like the comics, somebody went through them like 20, 30 years before and took all the number ones out. Because it would start at issue 2, everything. Or the Green Lantern started right after, I forgot what issue it is, 70 whatever, where they started the Bronze Age with the Green Lantern, Green Arrow. That one was missing. But 87 was in there, first John Stewart. It was a little rough, it had some water damage, but it was mine, and it cost me 60 cents, I think. Because they gave me a big old pile that was over 100 comics for $60. And it was awesome. I also got the first appearances of Dana in there, Hawkman number 4. I got a bunch of good Aquamans. I got the first Mara, first Ocean Master, first Black Manta. So, and I got him right when the Aquaman movie was coming out too, so it was a perfect time because I had to pay rent, so I sold almost all of them, which makes me sad. But so I did have the first appearance of John Stewart at one point. But sadly, those Green Lantern comics didn't go far enough back, so I did not have the first appearance of Guy Gardner. At one of the local shows I went to, a guy had a really nice copy of Green Lantern 87, but by the time I saw it, I kind of ran out of monies, so I couldn't go buy it. I was hoping he'd have it the next month, but when I got there a little late, and another dealer bought it. It was probably a good high-grade copy, like a 8.5 to 9 something. That would have been a nice one to have. That's one I would have held on to, but it sold on me and I never got it. The best Green Lantern book I ever had was a Showcase 23, I think it was. It was the second appearance of Hal Jordan, and I got that in another box of comics. I bought it in an estate sale. So I think total that thing cost me like, not a lot, maybe 30 cents, because it was a big old box of books that I paid $80 for, and there was probably 200 books in the box. That was a good score. I got a first appearance of the Silver Surfer in there too. Yeah, so I started reading X-Men books when I first started reading comics, and then when I got into DC, the DC characters I gravitated to originally after, everybody knows Batman, so I started with Batman, and they're like, Batman's cool. What else we got for DC? And I didn't go to Superman. I bought some Green Lantern books, and I bought some Flash books. And so my DC characters that I was big on were Flash and Green Lantern. Especially the Jeff John runs of, not Jeff John's, Mark Waid run of Flash from the 90s. It's a great one, and it's Wally West. So my first Flash was really Wally West, because Barry Allen was dead when I started reading comic books. He got killed in Crisis of Infinite Earths, and I started reading 87, and they didn't bring him back till 2000 something in Rebirth, because there was some characters that were supposed to stay forever dead or forever unalived, and one was Jason Todd, and another one was Barry Allen, because they moved on from him. They had Wally West. Barry did his job, and that was it. But Jeff Johns had other plans in the early 2000s. He did the Rebirth thing, and I can't be mad at him, because Rebirth was a really good story, so, I'm not going to be mad at Jeff Johns for telling a good story. And plus, he did a good job bringing Barry back and putting the whole Flash family together. Although they did kind of do the Flash family thing with the Mark Waid run, because you had Jesse Quick, you had Max Mercury, you had Impulse, and you had some of the future Flashes, and it was good. And now that I'm looking at this picture of John Stewart, I should have put the green glow around him, but I didn't. So I might do that when I make the prints, but it won't be for this video, unfortunately. And I'm sure you notice I ditched the whole circle idea because I didn't think it was necessary. It was just, getting in the way of all the other stuff, and I like the other stuff better. So I went with that. So yeah, the Lantern Show started. So anybody who watched it, if you got this far in the video or you get to this short later on, let me know what you thought about it, what you think. We'll probably be at least 2 weeks into it by the time this video is released. Yeah, so let me know what you think. I also liked the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds. It wasn't great, but as far as superhero movies of the time go, it wasn't any worse than anything that was coming out. It was just your standard comic book origin movie. But with that, we are done with John Stewart Green Lantern. So I thank you all for stopping by. Please like and subscribe and do all that fun stuff, because I'm still trying to get a ton of hours. Followers are coming, which is nice. And have yourselves a great week. And please go out and draw something.